Nurse practitioner Rebecca Jollata takes the stand, and this is again where we are getting more insight into what was going on in these meetings that Lindsay Clancy was having with these different nurses and doctors. We find out that between October and November of 2022, Lindsay Clancy loses a sudden 6 pounds. Right before Lindsay sees Nurse Jollata, she was put on Remeron. Nurse Jollata said she felt like Remeron was a good choice for Clancy because it is a good choice for someone who is having depression and anxiety and decreased appetite. Lindsay and Nurse Jollata had a lot of contact, whether it was in person, through the portal. At one point, Lindsay shares with Nurse Jollata that she was feeling addicted to Ativan. She says, "I just keep coming back to the feeling that I'm dependent on Ativan after 2.5 weeks of taking it daily with Benadryl." Mind you, the Benadryl was something that Lindsay was taking on her own. That was not recommended by any of these doctors that she was seeing. She went on to say, "I feel like I'm addicted to it and I feel like I'm not being heard." She also referred to her bad reaction to Zoloft. Other messages to Nurse Jollata, she would say, "I also feel concerningly numb right now. I feel like I'm going to die and I don't care. What do I do about this?" I believe this message went to Nurse Jollata over a weekend. Nurse Jollata responded, "That sounds like depression," and gave Lindsay Clancy resources to call in case things escalated over that weekend. Another message to Nurse Jollata, Lindsay said, "I have never felt anything like this before. Do you think over time these symptoms will go away?" Nurse Jollata wrote back, "All of this sounds like postpartum depression. Even though they feel terrible, they are symptoms of an illness that is very real and very treatable. This is going to get better." They would continue to meet up. There were several meetings between the two of them. Patrick Clancy also joined in on one of these meetings with Nurse Jollata. At one point, Nurse Jollata proposes the idea of Lindsay Clancy possibly being tested for bipolar. One of the things that stuck out to Nurse Jollata was that Lindsay was having issues with Zoloft, which can sometimes be a common thing with somebody with bipolar. In that meeting, Lindsay did not respond to this possible idea of bipolar. Patrick, her husband, on the other hand, said, "My wife is not bipolar." Lindsay had shared with Nurse Jollata that there were periods of time where she wouldn't sleep for 48 hours and still wasn't tired, which again made Nurse Jollata think of bipolar disorder. Nurse Jollata did eventually screen for bipolar disorder, and at that time she determined that Lindsay did not have bipolar, but did want to keep an eye on that possible diagnosis. She wanted to come up with a tapering plan for Lindsay and the volume that she was feeling addicted to at the time. They had gone back and forth on this. She came up with a plan, but then Lindsay kind of came back to her and wanted to switch the plan back and not taper off of it. Nurse Jollata also recommended to Lindsay an inpatient clinic. This, I believe, was the same women's and infant inpatient clinic that Lindsay's psychiatrist recommended in Rhode Island. Nurse Jollata also expressed to the courtroom that she was feeling that Lindsay was possibly hypermanic or mixed manic. If you are missing the minute-by-minute courtroom drama, then follow for more so you can get all of the recaps.